morning, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of today's Opening Bell, or how we call it in Romania, ZF Deschiderea De Astăzi. We're on the 19th of September, and we are talking today with Mr. Johan Meyer, CEO of Franklin Templeton, Bucharest, and portfolio manager of Fondul Proprietatea. Johan, hi, good morning.
I love you.
Thank you very much for accepting our invitation, Johan, because we have some couple of topics to discuss, including, of course, the plans for Fondul Proprietatea coming up this year and, of course, next year. But first of all, let's touch the subject coming up next week on the shareholders meeting agenda, because we've seen there's some proposals from the Minister of Finance, including new members in the committee board, and the thing about the renewal of the mandate of Franklin Templeton with 1 year. You proposed 4 years. How do you see these proposals?
So, Livy, firstly, I think obviously the intention for Franklin Templeton is to continue participating in the Romanian market and the continued development of the capital market, as long as our shareholders would like us to be here. Obviously, we've got a very long track record in Romania as the manager of Fondul Proprietatea, and we've seen significant development of the market over this period of time. And of course, with our most recent success, the listing of Hydroelectrica. I think we've built a very strong business and brand here over the past 13 plus years, based on the implementation of corporate governance and professionalizing the management in the companies in our portfolio, and we very much look forward to continue that work with the existing portfolio. But we're also very much looking towards the future in the context of new investments, in that we would very much like to be in a position where we could grow the fund with continued participation in the Romanian market. And we've identified an opportunity in private equity investments where we can continue to put to work our experience and our expertise of having operated here in Bucharest for so long, to the benefit of all our shareholders.
What about the size of Fondul? Because after the exit of from Hydroelectrica, the net assets went from I think 12 billion RON to around 3 billion RON right now, and the market capitalization is around the 2.5 billion. Is the size enough for the Franklin to be an asset manager of Fondul?
Without a question, yes. We've obviously been working for an extended period of time on preparing ourselves and Hydroelectrica, with the cooperation of all the stakeholders in the process, for that transition from a holding within the Fondul portfolio to being a listed entity in itself. So I think this is a major development for the Romanian Stock Exchange, and we were very excited to have been a part of this successful transaction. Now, looking at the remainder of the portfolio, we still have some companies with a great deal of potential, including Bucharest Airports and Constanța Ports and Salrom, that in itself are companies that can benefit from the same type of initiative to develop the companies to the point where they can be listed on the stock exchange, and that would be to the benefit of the Romanian market and Romanian investors. So the reduced size of the portfolio certainly doesn't scare us, but as I said earlier, we're looking very much to the future as well, and putting to work the experience that we have in growing the fund through new investments as well.
Johan, we've seen some, let's say, involvement of the Romanian state regarding the general shareholder meetings of Fondul. I'm speaking here about the dividend distribution from Hydroelectrica, because we've seen there some proposals, and now we have another one. What is the possible explanation for the Romanian state to want to propose 1 year of mandate and not 4, like the board of Fondul wants for the Franklin?
Olivia, unfortunately, I cannot speak on behalf of the intentions of the Ministry of Finance. What I can do is on behalf of Franklin Templeton reconfirm our commitment to the Romanian market and say that we are obviously very excited about the potential and the future of Fondul in the context of continued management mandate for Franklin Templeton. I think there are plenty of opportunities within the existing portfolio and in the same breath opportunities in potential new investments as well. Of course, in order to embark on a revised investment strategy, we would need the support of all our shareholders.
13 years experience for Franklin here at Fondul, if I remember correctly.
Correct, yes.
What will change if the shareholders will vote for 1 year? What will change in the strategy of Fondul, and what will happen after that?
Well, that will be in the that will be subject to in the context of the proposal of the Ministry of Finance. If that's the case, there will be a selection process that will be conducted by the board of nominees. But from a management point of view, we will always continue to focus on value creation for our shareholders. That means dealing with the companies that we have in the portfolio and implementing the agreed investment strategy, or the investment strategy agreed with our shareholders.
Johan, you've mentioned about some opportunity in the market right now. I've looked at the report from August, if that's correct, and I've seen some deposits there, 1.4 billion RONs. What are the plans with this cash?
So under the existing investment management agreement, that is cash that is available to be utilized in the discount control mechanism. As we've done in the past, it is available for distribution via dividends or share buybacks, and potentially for investments as well. But in order for that to be utilized in the context of investments, we need a strategy approval from our shareholders.
Does this sum include the fees paid for the brokers that worked on the Hydroelectrica IPO?
The fees have already been taken into account in this amount.
What is the amount of these fees, if you can disclose?
I don't remember the exact amount, but the amount was disclosed in the budget that was approved by shareholders in a previous meeting.
Okay, this amount 1.4 billion, it includes the NL sales as well?
No, I think the NL holding it's still subject to the finalization of the transaction.
Okay, what will happen with the cash? The same as the previous one, the deposits?
As I said, the cash that is in the portfolio and that is coming into the portfolio is subject to utilization in the discount control mechanism that we have.
When we talk with investors, even this show, the main question that they put on the agenda is the possible listing of Salrom. What are the plans here, Johan?
So, as I mentioned in my earlier comments, I think there are a number of other companies, including Salrom, that deserve to be listed. I think this would bring a significant benefit to investors in the Romanian capital market. And as we've seen with the success of Hydroelectrica, there is a lot of excitement about potential investments. Of course, with any potential listing, you need a couple of the solid foundation to be in place. This includes having independent supervisory board, professional management team, and at the moment that is still a process that is ongoing. Also, what would be required is an auditor that has experience in capital market transactions in order to prepare the financials of the business for utilization in the IPO process.
What do you think that there are chances that we can see Salrom by next spring on the Bucharest Stock Exchange?
I would hope so, but don't hold me to it. I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of the preparation of Salrom, as I mentioned, in terms of the governance structures, in terms of the preparation of the financials and the reporting of the business. But it is an ongoing effort on our part, and of course we need the full support and cooperation of the majority shareholder, being the Ministry of Economy, as well as the governance bodies, the management team, and the supervisory board of the company.
Johan, I want to talk with you about the current situation on the Bucharest Stock Exchange, because what we are seeing nowadays is basically, let's say, an effect of the historic amount coming up in a couple of weeks at the end of this month, 9.3 billion RONs from dividends. How do you see the appetite of the Bucharest Stock Exchange, and how do you see the stock exchange now after the IPO?
Well, in a couple of words, cash flush. So obviously, the proceeds from the Hydroelectrica dividend will be distributed to our shareholders as a dividend. That means cash back in the pockets of our shareholders, with the opportunity to either take it out or to reinvest in the Bucharest Stock Exchange, or other investment or deposit opportunities, whatever the case may be. So quite honestly, in terms of liquidity and investment opportunities, I think there is still plenty, and it does make a massive difference to the Bucharest Stock Exchange.
What about the appetite of the local investors? We've seen, I think 50% of the IPO went to the local investors, including private pension funds, the biggest shareholder of Fondul.
So certainly we were positively surprised by the participation of not only the pension funds, but by retail investors as well. And I think that is testament to a great company that is coming, that came to the market. Obviously, it's something that people had been anticipating and waiting for a number of years. So a fantastic opportunity for investors to participate in Hydroelectrica directly. But of course, there are other companies on the stock exchange that also have similar investment profiles where there are returns to be generated.
We have a couple of more minutes. Johan, I want to touch on the Hydroelectrica equity on the stock market. How do you see the dynamics so far? Two months since the listing. How do you see it?
So I think any exchange is obviously subject to global fluctuations in investment sentiment and flows. We've seen continued positive evolution of the Hydroelectrica share price. So I think it's been a good transaction in the way that it was structured, and we've been very happy to see the positive continued positive evolution of the share price post the admission to trading.
What is the pipeline of Fondul's project right now? What are you analyzing as a possible opportunity, sector-wise?
So in terms of sectors, we would very much like to be able to access opportunities that provide us with high growth, in order to start developing a track record of accessing investment opportunities and exiting those investments, ideally potentially through pre-IPO opportunities, where we have a lot of expertise in preparing and bringing companies to the stock exchange. And of course, the improved profitability of these companies and the dividends that they may generate, that is positive for the entire market and for the fiscus, through higher profitability, dividends. So it's beneficial not only to the stock market itself, to shareholders, but also in terms of generating income for the fiscus of the country.
When you went in the show road to explain to investors about this IPO, the Hydroelectrica, what was the first question of the investors who hadn't had any connection with the Bucharest Stock Exchange until that point?
Well, that's a very difficult question, because I think we've been on the road and in front of investors so much over the past 13 years that I don't think many of the investors that we'd spoken to hadn't heard about Fondul, hadn't heard about Hydroelectrica. I suppose the key questions that we had throughout the process was what are the future plans for Hydroelectrica? What is the electricity production and consumption profile of the country look like? What are the growth opportunities? And I think in a European context, where it is more important to focus on self-reliance in the production of energy, this has proven to be a very thematic investment, and of course a high yielding one as well, which is incredibly important to investors.
From our calculations, we can see that a third of Fondul Proprietatea capital is being held, let's say, or owned by the private pension funds. I think that's top three in the Bucharest Stock Exchange. How do you see these investors in the shareholder structure?
So clearly, we count the pension funds as the core group of our shareholders having such a large exposure to Fondul, and I think that speaks directly to our track record of value creation in unlisted companies, as we've had with all the minority holdings that we have in the state-owned companies, as well as some private companies like NL and NG and others. So we very much look forward to continue cooperating with not only the pension funds as our core institutional shareholders, but also the foreign institutional shareholders, and of course the Ministry of Finance, that is a large minority shareholder in the fund as well.
And Johan, the last question, because what we did in the first minutes was that we drew a line basically on what happened in the last month. Of course, we're talking about the listing of the Hydroelectrica, which dragged the Bucharest Stock Exchange at a new record high. Let's say we are in the fall of 2024, and we are talking about the last 4 or 5 months. What will be the main event that we will be discussing next year?
Well, I think the continued evolution of the profitability of the companies operating on the stock exchange. Of course, at the moment there's a very topical debate around taxation and implementation of new fiscal measures. Of course, investors see this with a great deal of shall I say, skepticism, because one of the aspects that we've always been advocating for is stability and predictability in terms of how companies are being treated. And while it's fully recognized that there is budgetary pressure on the Romanian state, they should be very careful of not killing the goose that lays the golden egg. From my point of view, a business environment should be fostered that encourages investment in growth in order to build businesses, in order to be in a position where they can pay more dividends, pay more tax based on a higher level of profitability. You cannot tax a country into growth. That, from an economic point of view, simply doesn't work.
Johan, thank you very much. We're keeping an eye on Fondul Proprietatea, of course, because from the IPO, all of the investors are looking right now at Fondul, especially after the ex-dividend correction that we had lately. In the portfolio, the Complexul Energetic Oltenia, I haven't seen some capital increase participation there. How come?
So obviously that is subject to an investment decision and the outlook on how do we best allocate the capital in the individual investment opportunities, or compare that to returning cash to our shareholders. We certainly support the growth initiatives or the transition initiatives of Oltenia in order to transform the business into a more sustainable one, but we have to compare that to how are we going to generate returns for our shareholders. So that really feeds into any investment decision that we take.
Thank you very much, Johan. We still have a couple of more issues to discuss, but we can do that Friday when we will see each other at our conference. Thank you very much for taking your time. Johan Meyer, CEO of Franklin Templeton Bucharest and Portfolio Manager at Fondul Proprietatea, was here today with us. Thank you, Johan.
Liviu, thank you so much for all the questions, and as always, appreciate the interaction.
Always a pleasure to discuss with people who gave us a lot of work this summer. I'm gonna admit it, because we spent some more couple of hours there with the Hydroelectrica. But as always, it was a pleasure. Până data viitoare, fii întins la investiții câștigătoare. Numai bine!
Știu. Știu.
Știu.
Știu.
Știu. Știu.